All right, so this is the second GM tips using OBS. This time instead of FLV, I am doing an MP4. So we're going to see how this works because MP4s, you break them, they're done, you can't do them again. So I'm going to give it a shot, see if the quality's better, see if you guys like it better. Hopefully, it's already sounding better, and the quality and the clarity I'm telling is coming in better than my usual one. All right, so this week's we're going to talk about as a GM rolling with it. Something I normally don't talk about. Remember, I tell you guys prep, 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 and for the most part, I would tell you prep. Sessions you usually want to take time to prepare for. However, as we all know, sessions come up and you don't always get to prep. So I've had sessions like that. I ran a one shot using River of Darkness, which takes us into the Mwangi Expanse. And I had DM Deistress on there. I had Tiny GM. I had Akisha. And who else did I have in there? Oh, I had one of DM Deistress's friends. We're hoping to have Chaotic in there, but Chaotic had stuff to move and stuff. And I kind of gave her a hard time. Sorry, Chaotic. That was my fault on that one. All right, so we're going to be doing roll with it. So what do I mean by roll with it? Well, there are situations you can find the wheels, sweetie. You know where they are. So you roll in with mini GM. Rolling with it means what happens when you lay out an adventure, you get everything set, you have a plan for your PCs, you know where they want to go, you have your plot, you have your well thought story, you have your campaign, and they go off your nicely greased rails right onto a sidetrack you didn't even know was there. And they're off. And so I'm going to talk a little bit from what Steve Kenson had to say out of the Game Mastery Guide from Cobalt, as well as my own thoughts on this, because I love mixing in some other points. And this goes back to my other one of going into other people and talking with other people. Um, I love this. He got it on target too. The military maxim: no battle plan survives contact with the enemy, or not. No adventure plot survives contact with player characters. I love it, Steve. You did exactly the way I would say it too. And so, kudos, man. High five. Air high five on that. It is exactly the case. No best laid plan you do is ever going to survive contact with your party. Never does. You watch my campaign ones with Pathfinder, with the Reign of Winter, you will see how many times the players have taken me off the tracks. But they get it done, and they get it done in a neat way. And part of it is me rolling with it and having to deal with it. So I've gotten creative now. I've gotten real roll with everything that happens. Because it doesn't matter how well I lay it out, they've got their own idea of where they want to go. One of the things he says, and I agree with him, is plan loosely. So basically, to help ensure things don't go off script too easily, dispense with the script. Really well said. You have your thought, you have your tie-in, you have your draw, you have your main plot that you have your characters latch on to. But from there, really, they write the story. The script is not yours. If you're like me, you're sitting there playing it out in your mind. You're talking with yourself. You're seeing how they're going to take it. You're looking at all the possibilities, and they never go that way. Once in a while, and that's a surprise too. But for the most part, they go off in their own directions. Like, for instance, I didn't figure my players would go to the Boneyard in the last one in the Carrying Crown. They went to Pharasma's realm. They had a chance, and they took it because they traveled wrong. They gated, and it shot them way off. And the choices were either shoot them way off into Golarion, which they did, and then they tried to go through Golarion back, but there was a trap laid for them. So I was rolling with the punches because they ended up in the the Asian realms in Hang La and that area, and Detang Ma. It never goes the way I expect. And so you do plan loosely. In particular, try to make many parts of your adventure into set pieces that allow the characters the freedom of choice, such as a scene where they explore a town nearly depopulated by a zombie plague. They can visit various places in the town in whatever order, encounter some zombies, possibly some survivors, and find valuable resources. Eventually, they go to the town center where they can actually find out what caused it. And that's it. you got to let them have the freedom to go different directions. They're not going to go down that straight line path to where you think. And if they do, then you've got them programmed. And you really don't want that in your players. Janet, be careful over there, please. Thank you. You don't want to do that. You want to allow them to have that freedom to really just get things done in the order they want to. And I've done that in my recent campaign with Rain Winter. I've let them go off target, even though the curse is supposed to hold them to the task. I'm not hard-lined about that, because then it takes all the fun of letting them explore. As long as they're on the right track and the right goal in mind of getting to where they need to go, even if they feel like they got to acquire some things to get them there, I let them have that freedom. I let the curse morph to say, okay, they're not going off just to go willy-nilly. They really are after something that will help them get closer to their task at hand. And so I leave a loose interpretation there. And that's sometimes the best way to do it. You won't be disappointed that way. Don't panic. I agree. So often as GMs, we panic and hit the panic button when the players go off on the rails we don't want them to. It's like, no, you weren't supposed to go that way. How do you go that way? Why? We want to tell them that, but you can't. You have to let them gestate through it, and you got to go through it too. And in your mind, take some breaths, some mental breaths, and say, okay, figured it wasn't going to survive. So now what? Now how do I bring them back around to where I want them to be? Rearrange the scene. Sometimes the scene says it should play out this way, and especially if you do the published adventures like these, you're going to, or like Strahd or like Volos, sometimes they've got everything written out as the scene playing one way, or maybe two ways. You have to let the scene play out as it sees fit and as the players play it out. Let's see what Mr. Steve has to say. He says, keep in mind that the players probably don't know they're gone off the beaten track. Gee, didn't I just say that? Well, we think alike. I love that. This allows you the opportunity to simply change where the track goes without anyone on the other side of the screen being wiser. That really is a key of a great game master, in my mind, and it's his mind, is basically you have to, without skipping a beat, change the scene around to fit what's going on. You know what the end result of that scene is supposed to be. You know what you have to do. So, perfect example. I was running a Pathfinder Society scenario. The scenery was they are supposed to go through a set of trials to get accepted by the group they're trying to get into in the Earth Realms. But they're also trying to find out that the head of that group is actually a spy, a master spy, helping other spies that are enemies of the party and the party's faction. And we had the bard. That was the iconic standard bard that you pick up. That's the halfling. And you can't get on. Okay, sure. You can take that and make it big. Go ahead. Take it with you. And the player that was a D&D player, she'd never played Pathfinder before, she started flirting with the people in the mess after they did a great act and got everybody into them. She utilized that to get friendly with another guy. Take her guy character, get friendly with another guy character, flirting, heavy flirting. Kind of threw off guard. It was fun, a lot of laughter. But then the questions started flowing. And she learned some things that she wouldn't have learned and got the other players thinking the same way. Not part of the script. Wasn't supposed to necessarily tell them, but they went a different direction. So as a GM, I took a little liberty and said, okay, this is another way of skinning this cat. And yes, PFS planned it one way, but there's allowance for role play, and the role play took them a different path that won them points. So you can rearrange the scene and make it happen. And then, okay, instead of having a zombie-ridden town some distance off on the road, you might decide to put the heroes put it in the hero's path so it intersects with them. So if they don't go down the road and they miss where they should have gone, you put it in a different location so they still run into it. I get that all the time from GMs. What if they missed that one skill roll or thing that would have gotten them what they needed to complete the story? Put it somewhere else so they got another shot. You don't want to take away from them the thing that can solve the story. That's not our goal as a GM. Yes, we love the agony of it sometimes when that blown roll happens. But again, we're not there to necessarily derail them either. We're there to help them. Offer guidance. GMs can do that without giving away a story. There are two ways to offer guidance in dealing with player decisions. The first is to focus on the character abilities, giving them subtle hints involving things the characters would be aware of that the players may not be. So you can remind them, hey, you might want to do this because you got to acknowledge this. This might help you. You can outright tell the players this information or game it out. For example, when characters overcome a zombie attack and the players decide to move on without investigating, you tell the player whose character would know some things about the undead. It's unusual for zombies simply to attack travelers like this. I've done that all the time. Subtle little hints to say, when you're thinking about this and you watch this scenario play out, those tanks acted like they were more intelligent than an automaton. Oh, yeah, they kind of did. They knew where we were going and they anticipated our moves. Yeah. And oh, by the way, there's these creatures tearing into the tanks and tearing something out of them. It's the brain that was put in the tank. Yeah. Now you investigate the tank and see the empty tank where the brain was. Oh. See, then you draw them into the very thing they need to lock in on, but you do it in subtle ways. And that way the characters start learning these things in role play and asking themselves. Confirm a speculation. I always love these. Let's see what he has to say. Players spend a lot of time in a game speculating to each other or just thinking aloud. Pay close attention to this kind of speculation is about and what's happening with your story and in the world. The players are handing you a useful tool, whether they know it or not. It tells you whether or not clues and information about the game or plot are coming through clearly. So, and you can take advantage. In particular, players speculate about something and make a decision based on the speculation. You can choose to rearrange your adventure behind the screens to match the speculation and make it correct. Instead of making them have to go back and rethink it, you can curve things around to follow the speculation. I love that tool because then you're not having to redo the adventure. I get this a lot. Well, what if they missed this? What if the speculation will guide you to where you can insert it? That's where you have to be clued in on the GM more than your story. To what are the players doing? What are they saying? How are they doing it? Be particularly aware of player speculation that begins with anything akin to, wouldn't it be really cool if? I love that speculation. The words mean your players are telling you things they would like to see in the adventure that you may not have in there. And that's a great thing to throw in there. Have stopgaps and resources. In most action-oriented RPGs, the simplest stopgap is recommended by the novelist Raymond Chandler. When in doubt, have a man come through a door with a gun in his hands. In other words, if you need to fill in a gap, while also giving yourself a breathing space, throw in a threat to the player characters. Could be a wandering monster, could be a random NPC, whatever. And it always spices it up a little bit because they're not expecting that. That's why I love these pre-printed adventures, but I will tell you, and I'll tell the Paizo folks, even though I love you, in this case, Jim Groves. Jim, you do a great job writing. You really do. However, I change your adventure. Amanda Heyman Kuntz, love your stuff, but I change your adventures. I have yet to run one of these book to book as is. And you know what? Hint Paizo, I never will. Because I always like to make these mine. And I know you guys are okay with that. It doesn't mean I don't like what you've written. I stylize it to what my characters see in me. Sometimes it changes my style by reading your stuff, and I add new styles in there. So don't take it that I don't like your writing. I love it. I do. But I always flavor it a certain way. Why is it? Because players inevitably pick these up and read them, even though they may tell you they don't. Change them. Spice them. Do a little bit. And just run with it. Sometimes your players, and I love what he says here, sometimes your players just go off the rails, and you got to run with it. If all else fails and the players are dead set on focusing something that has nothing to do whatsoever with your planned adventure, take what is handed you and run with it. Agreed. You'll get less frustrated if you do that. You'll have fun with it. They want to go make it. If they want to go summon that creature they shouldn't summon, let them. Let them. Have fun with it. Let them learn. Don't kill them off. Just let them have fun. Let them get overwhelmed. It's all the fun of the game. So a couple things we learned here today in rolling with it. You, the GM, are the person that has to be prepared for all these different instances. And sometimes it means being prepared of just being ready for when the players do throw you off track, to know how to handle it. And a lot of it is you can put in some random encounter tables that maybe not in the books that you write up, some random plot things, some random NPCs, and other things in there that your players won't expect. And that's great because then you can add that in when the players take you sideways. Thank you so much. And again, Kobold Press, great stuff. Really the only article, and I am going to read it because, I just do, is the article of how to play better without minis, which you are hurting my very heart. And the person that wrote it is hurting my very heart with that. Let's see, it's after the Feast and Famines, and I'll tell you who it is. It's Wolfgang. How Wolfgang? Man, I love you, and you are the head of Kobold too, and you're killing me writing this. But I will read it. Why? Because I respect you, man, and I gotta learn as a GM. But I love my minis. I'm sorry, I love them. I do. I love what they bring to the game. But because it is you and because I respect you, I will take the time. So that's me learning as a GM. All right, guys, thank you so much, and I appreciate it. Let me know how this format works out, and if you like it. If so, thumbs up. Thanks again for tuning into GM Tips 181, and